Hey friends, today's video is a cutting video. It is chaotic, of course. I really feel like that's part of my branding is chaos, but especially these cutting videos. I'm always just kind of all over the place. So chaos cutting video coming at you. We are cutting out the wide Callisto, so enjoy. I have my pattern pieces cut out and ready to go. And then on the exterior main piece, I went ahead and wrote down all the other measurements that I need to cut out as well. And so I'm going to do black for the front pocket and the back exterior. And then I think Ecolux for the top section. And I'm gonna be using this cork piping. This is just pre-made cork piping. It's kind of hard to come by, but I did check it out, and I know that Sally Tomato sells some, and I think just like a few of the other heavy hitters that we buy from, that we all know and love, I think a couple other people sell it, but it's kind of a thick piping tube. It's a plastic tube down in there, and then it's standard cork. But yeah, so it's pre-made piping. You could certainly make your own piping, or you can use pre-packaged piping from, you know, Hobby Lobby, Walmart, any of those places. And then for my lining, I'm using this really cool mushroom pattern. Unfortunately, I cut off the selvage, so I don't know who makes it. But if you ever see this, please send me the link because I'm desperately trying to find more of it. So let's get to it. So if you want full-size pattern pieces, you can print out the pattern piece pages twice, and then cut out both of the pattern pieces, then you can tape them together, and that will give you a full-size pattern piece. I know some people prefer cut on fold, some people prefer just measurements, so you do whatever you like, but in the interest of trees and trying to appease everybody, I did cut on fold templates, or pattern pieces, but I know some of you do not like that. So my sincerest apologies, but honestly, truly, it's just so hard to please everybody. And I mean, if you think about it, full-size pattern pieces would be the same exact, you'd be doing the same exact process. You would be cutting out the same pattern piece twice and taping it in the middle. So it's just kind of the same. You know, 6 one way, half a dozen of the other. Okay, so here's my exterior back. Excuse me, oh, just choked on my own spit. It's very becoming. Now, if you want to, you can do so many different combinations on this bag. That's what I love about it. You can do it slim, you could do it wide, you could do piping, you could leave the piping off. You can add just one snap pocket as originally designed, or you can add another snap pocket on the back as well. You can do a snap pocket on the front, and then on the back, do the pocket, but instead of making it a snap, you can sew it in half and then have two pockets, two slip pockets. You can add an exterior zipper pocket along the back, or you could just leave no pockets on at all anywhere on the exterior, and it'll just be super slim, sophisticated style. So it's really a choose your own adventure style bag. I'm going back to 7th grade with those books. And I just love bag patterns that offer many different combinations, because then it's like you're getting 4 or 5 patterns in one. So I'm giving you the skeleton, and then you get to decide how you want it to look. So I'm just gonna do black for my exterior and my front and back exteriors. I really want the piping to pop, so I was thinking about doing the pocket in the Ecolux, but to have that really great two-tone, I think I don't know. So I really want the piping to pop, and I think having black on black is what's gonna really show that. But I struggle with the fact that Ecolux is such a beautiful cork that if I cut this whole panel out of Ecolux and you're only going to see a little bit of it. So that's kind of what I'm struggling with. But Actually, no, I'm going back and forth. I am going to make the pocket black. Sorry, I'm already confusing you. But do you expect anything less? Now, make sure that you're cutting out the proper pattern. You can do version A or version B. Version B is the wide version, and you can tell by the darts that are cut out. And so I included this little tab here, and that is where we're going to be adding our snap. But if you don't want to cut your cork or your leather or your vinyl and have just that one little chunk ruin an otherwise perfectly straight line, you can just cut this straight and then just add a little tiny addition whenever you're adding your snap. It's not going to make or break it at all. Sometimes if I don't want to cut out that tab, I won't. I'll just, like I said, go straight across, and then I'll just add about 3/4 inches wide by 1/2 inch right in that spot whenever I'm adding my snap tab. I wonder if it would be cool to do an all black bag, but have natural piping and then a natural strap. That would be really pretty too. Again, combinations are really endless with this bag. You can do all monochrome and that looks really good. You could do every single piece in a different color and that would be nice and bright and funky. I made one that was unicorn cork and I did super bright purple piping, and so that was a really great pop of color. You can just really do so much. I can't wait to see what you come up with. All right, so now I have my pocket and my exterior, and I'm actually going to cut my strap out of the black as well. Now, I like my strap to be 55 inches long, and that is just a general length that I use for all of my crossbody straps because it's great for every body. So every person, every human that buys my bags, I have found that 55 inches is more than enough length, regardless of their body type. You know, some of us are a little fluffier than others, and some of us like really long bags. Man, when I was younger, I used to wear my bags so low. It's kind of ridiculous. Kind of like how people sag their pants. That was me with my bags. So 55 inches is what I found to be a good mix for everybody. But of course, if you want a longer strap, or if you don't want to make your strap adjustable, then measure where you want it to sit and cut accordingly. So I'm just cutting the width of my ruler here, so that's, I now have 48, so I just need to add 50, I need to add 7 more inches here. And if you can avoid it, I do not suggest cutting like this, how I'm reaching way over here and cutting with the blade facing me this way, just because you can run up onto your ruler here. I highly suggest, if you can lay your cork out properly, or your vinyl or your leather or your cotton, whatever it is that you're cutting, you want to cut away from your body and away from your hands. This is not best practice. Unfortunately, this cork, well, fortunately / unfortunately, this cork is just such a big roll that I don't have the room to lay it out on my table because my table is cluttered with stuff. And so I just set a really bad example, but please do as I say, not as I do. because that's really not a good way to cut cork, but it is a great way to slip and hurt yourself. So I cut this really wide. My straps are 1.5 inches because I fold them trifold style, but this is the salvage edge of the cork. So I cut it really wide to give myself room to cut the width that I need without sacrificing the cork edge. And so that's how I suggest cutting cork, away from you safely. That is what's great about getting cork directly from Portugal or getting end of bolt from Fabric Funhouse, is she sends the entire meter instead of the yard, and you can get a full strap without having to piece it, which is really nice. Generally, I always have to piece my straps, which I'm used to doing, but it adds a hump on the strap that you might want to avoid if you can. And so getting full meters of cork, you can do that. You can avoid having that join. If you're a nervous rotary blade user, you can also get the glove. They make like a cutting glove where you can literally like run over your hand and it's not going to cut through anything. So yeah, if you're nervous or new, you can consider getting one of those gloves. It's almost like a chainmail glove, and that will protect your hands. I'm a pretty confident rotary blade user, and I don't want to say that and eat my words here a little bit, but I do try to be really mindful of where the blade is, and especially when it's a new blade, because they are sharp, 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 sharp. All right, so now I'm going to cut one exterior from this. And now that I have one side cut, I can just use it as my guide. Or of course you could just trace the pattern again. And so if you are not using D-ring rivets to attach your strap, you are going to want to cut out strap anchors as well. You can cut them out to whatever size width of your D-rings. I generally like to keep them as small as possible, so I use 1/2 inch D-rings whenever I'm doing a 1/2 inch strap. But that's totally personal preference. If you like the look of a thicker strap and a thicker D-ring, then go for it. Just make sure that your strap anchors are cut to the same width as your connecting hardware. And you'll cut 4 of those from cork, vinyl, or leather, and then you're gonna lay them wrong sides together, rather, and attach them. Now I'm going to be attaching my strap using these D-ring rivets here. Okay, now I just need to cut out my lining and see, I think it's gonna be a beautiful match with this mushroom. Nice and subdued, but fun and funky. But it's totally gonna knock out what I have left of this fabric, which is a sad, sad day. Now, if you've ever made any of my bag patterns, then you know that I taper my linings and make them smaller than my exteriors. I do that intentionally. I like a nice fit on a bag. I don't like to have my lining be baggy and floating around in the bottom. So I always taper my edges. And this pattern is no different. Ah, it's a bummer. It's a touch too short. So I'm going to cut out my pockets first, actually, because I can use this extra over here. I need to get a new cutting mat. This thing's all chipped up down here because I always cut the corners on my wallets and such, and it's just chipping out there. All right, so I'm just checking my direction because this is directional fabric. You want to make sure that the top of the panel, that your fabric is facing the correct way. And when I'm doing cut on fold like this, I cut one side like so, and then I'll flip it. Now, if you want to, you can go ahead, you can mark your center line just by making a little snip. At the top and the bottom, you can cut a little triangle out. You just want to be sure that you're not cutting very deep, 1/8 to 1/4 of an inch. I use a 1/4 inch seam allowance, so I always cut about 1/8 of an inch when I'm doing that. Otherwise, you can use a marking pen or just flip it over and be a wild child. Hope that it lands in the right spot. All right, I just need to tighten up this bottom edge here. I'm gonna mark my darts. Cut this edge. And now I can cut my darts out. And those scissors are not great for my cotton. I need to get my scissors sharpened so badly. I've been researching sharpening stones, but it seems like for different scissor types, blade types, they take different, like it's a different process or something. I'm not real sure. So spent a bunch of time researching it. And then I got, what is it? Paralyzing, and I can never remember the term, but analyzing paralyze. Anyways, I got paralyzed to make a decision is what I'm trying to say. Okay, so now we have our linings cut out. We have our exteriors cut out, and we have our strap cut out. And now a note on interfacings. So I like a bag that is soft once it's broken in. I prefer my bags to be malleable. I prefer my bags to be malleable and just kind of break in with use. So I do not ever interface my cork. What I do, so let me fix this. It's super cockeyed. I always interface just my linings, and I generally use Decaville Light or I will use SoFuse Plus. I don't tend to use things like Decaville Heavy or Peltex on the linings of my bags. If I'm going to line my cork at all, I'm going to use Flex Foam. And generally, if I'm using Flex Foam, that means that I am quilting it. This bag is no different. You could quilt the back panel. That would be a really nice touch. But for this demonstration, I'm going to just be lining my lining fabric or interfacing my lining fabric with Decaville Light. If I have some left. Might have to use SoFuse Plus. Oh, no. We're using SoFuse Plus today, baby. So the difference in SoFuse Plus and Decaville Light is SoFuse is a woven. So in terms of like clothing and things like that, woven interfacings are what you always use if you're doing like a facing on a collar or a button fly, things like that. Non-woven interfacings, your Decavilles, your Peltex, your 808, 809 decor bonds, those are non-wovens, and those are generally used for cotton linings in bags and such. The issue that I have with 808 and 809 is I get a lot of bubbles in it. Ever since I started using a heat press, I haven't had 808 and 809 to practice with it or to like play with it. But whenever I only used that and I used an iron to attach my fusible interfacings, I almost always had bubbles. And then with Decaville Light, something that I noticed is a lot of times it would be perfectly beautiful whenever I was sewing the bag, but then as soon as I flipped it, it would get crinkly. And if you iron to try to get those crinkles out, it would just iron the bubble down and create a fold. So ever since using my heat press, I haven't had major issues with Decaville Light and getting crinkly and having those issues, but when I was using the iron, I did. Now with SoFuse Plus, I don't have those issues at all, but SoFuse is a different type of interfacing. It's a heavier interfacing. It's not as firm, but it's as thick. It allows for more like softness once the bag gets broken in, and it's not gonna like hold itself up forever. Yeah, so it's just not as firm when it's been used a bunch. That being said, it is a really nice heft. It has a nice weight to it, and it provides a nice feel to the bag, but it's more on the softer, flexible side than it's going to be on the stiff and structured. But alas, what I'm down to is Woven Fuse Plus, which is not a bad problem to have. But let's cut out our linings. Druzy is here to be annoying. She's on one today, as usual. Now, when I'm using my heat press, I'm using it to press the fabric prior to fusing my interfacing as well. I have been misting, misting with my water bottle. I have like a mister water bottle, so it's not dousing the cotton. But I have a misting water bottle, and if I have like crinkled and folded cotton, I will just lay it on my heat press and then spray it with a light mist and iron it or press it, and that gets all of the wrinkles out as well, which has been really nice. I didn't know that I could do that, but I started playing with, I was like starting to test the, excuse me, Druzy, you're in the way. I was testing the actual removal of wrinkles on it because it seems like, you know, it's a press. So it seems like that's how you would have to use it, as a heat press, not as an iron, but it works great. All right, so my Woven Fuse is doubled up. I had a big overhang here, so I'm going to save this, put this in my scrap pile. And so I'm just cutting 2 at once here. Another reason I really like the Woven Fuse is when it fuses, it really fuses. It's on there. I don't know if you can tell, but it has really like a lot of glue on the back of it. So when it's on there, it's on there. The only thing that I've noticed with Woven Fuse, in addition to my heat press, so the combo of the two, is sometimes if I leave my heat press down, if I'm pressing it and I leave this pressed for a long time, say more than 30 seconds, sometimes I'll notice like a darker spot where I think the glue kind of saturates into the cotton. So it's not just adhering onto the back, it's actually coming up in through the cotton, and it can leave some marks sometimes. So I've been experimenting with not leaving it pressed for nearly as long. I noticed that on certain, Druzy, you're in the way. Certain cotton fabrics using Decavil Light as well. This is not just Woven Fuse. Okay, so another note, when I'm cutting out interfacing for my pocket pieces, something that I've started doing recently that I've really enjoyed is I leave a gap here along the bottom. So if my pocket piece is, say, 10 inches by 5 inches, then I'll cut out 10 inches wide, but I'm only going to cut out 4.5 inches long, and I'm going to fuse it at the top of my panel, leaving a 1/2 inch gap on both pieces. And the reason for doing that is once you turn your bag through the pocket, it leaves this unstructured edge to fold together and flip wrong sides together. I mean, when you're flipping the pocket, you're kind of flipping wrong sides together. And then you get a nice stitch line without the bulk of interfacing being in the bottom corners. So when I'm going to be fusing, you're going to see that I'm going to fuse starting at the top, and you'll see a 1/2 inch gap here. Now, for the sake of the pattern, I did not write that in the pattern, but you know, you can totally do it if you want to. It's something that I've been doing on all of my bags recently, and it just makes a big difference in the feel of the bag at the end, because whenever I was using Decavil Light or Woven Fuse and you flip those corners, then you have 4 edges of interfacing all coming together in that corner, and it just gets really kind of chunky and bulky feeling. And so now I don't have that issue. Just realized I forgot to cut out my snap pocket lining. So because I have my interfacing out, I'm going to cut the interfacing first. Now with the Snap Pocket lining, the way that the pattern piece is laid out, it has this fold line here. And so after you cut out your exterior Snap Pocket with this little overhanging piece, what you do is you fold right on that line, and then you're gonna cut on this fold here a full Snap Pocket lining plus interfacing. And because, I retract that, but I'm going to leave my darts not cut out because I will cut that out of the actual fabric itself, and then I'll trace that onto the interfacing once I get that fused. Just took Druzy for a little ride. Oh, look, she's not happy about it. You need to go. Don't bite me. Okay, so let me get that fabric back that I put away. But where did I put it? This is like how my brain works. As soon as I put something down, it's just poof, gone. Same thing with my thought process. As soon as I think it and it's done, it's out of my brain, then I have to really try to remember what it was. Wow, that's kind of incredible that I can do that. Where did it go? Oh, right here. Put it in my extras bin. All right, so I can just use my interfacing and trace that to get this cut. Okay, so now I have all of my pieces cut and ready to go. I'll go through them one more time, and then I'm going to turn on, well, I could just do that now while we're standing here. All right, I've got my heat press turned on, and we will go through our materials. So I have my Snap Pocket lining plus interfacing right here. I have both of my interior zip pockets plus their linings. I have both of my interiors plus their linings. I have 2 exterior mains plus my pocket. And then finally, I have my strap. Oh, I just realized I have to cut my pocket overlay as well. So let's do that. I guess I'll do that in this cork here, since I have a big chunk of it. And so I'm going to use my zipper pocket overlay template here. So I need an 8-inch wide template or overlay so I can find my 8-inch zipper opening. And then I can trace this along the back here. So you can trace it first and then cut it out, or you can just go straight into cutting it. This template is available on my website if you're interested in checking it out. It comes with 3 zipper overlay sizes, 6-inch, 7-inch, 8-inch. Oh wait, no, 7-inch, 8-inch, 9-inch. And then it also has rivets, like a small little rivet template as well. There we go. And then now I can cut out this inner box. Just to recap, we have our lining pieces and our pocket pieces. They are fully fused and ready to go. We have our Snap Pocket and then our 2 exterior pieces. I went ahead and added my brand already. My brand is 1 inch tall. it's 1.25 inch tall, and I put it 1.75 inches down and centered along my panel, and that will put the pocket right below it. And then we have our zipper overlay, and that is Mod Podged and ready to go. And I switched it up. I'm gonna do my strap in the coordinating cork of the Ecolux here, just to have another pop of the natural, because I am gonna be doing the natural cork piping on this bag, and so it'll just really tie the room together, I think. You can use just regular piping, so don't worry about it if you don't have cork, or you can just totally omit the piping altogether. I hope that you guys found the cutting video helpful, or at least provided a couple laughs, or I don't know, whatever. I hope that you enjoyed it. Let me know if you like these videos. People keep saying that they do. I'm not sure what it is that you get out of them. Maybe, like, let me know what it is that you're looking for whenever you watch cutting videos, so that way I have some guidance and like something to pay attention to, and that I'm not just like flailing around cutting and changing my mind left and right. So if you like this video, please give me a thumbs up, leave me a comment, let me know what you look for in cutting videos, and I'll be sure to address that in my next upcoming videos. And be sure to click through. There'll be a video of the Callisto construction popping up on one of these sides. Thanks for being here. As always, my greatest gratitude.